What happens when your body's autopilot system just glitches? Well, that's the reality for millions of people living with dysautonomia. In this explainer, we're going to tackle the big question, the one that's on everyone's mind. Can this condition actually affect your lifespan? We'll break it all down using some fantastic insights from Healthline.
Yeah, this is the central question, isn't it? For anyone who's just been diagnosed or knows someone who has, this is a really serious concern. So our goal here is to get you a clear, straightforward answer. But, before we can even get to life expectancy, we have to make sure we're all on the same page. So, first things first, what is dysautonomia, really? Okay, so it's not actually one single disease. It's more of an umbrella term for a bunch of conditions that mess with your autonomic nervous system. And that system, it's the part of you that handles all the stuff you don't consciously think about, like your heartbeat, breathing, and digestion. This autopilot idea is the perfect way to think about it. Imagine you're on a plane, and the incredibly complex system that keeps it flying smoothly just starts to glitch out. When that happens inside your body, it can cause a whole range of really confusing and disruptive symptoms. Now, there are actually over 15 different types of dysautonomia, but a lot of them are pretty rare. So to keep things simple, we're going to focus on the three most common ones: POTS, orthostatic hypotension, and vasovagal syncope. First up is POTS. That's short for Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia Syndrome. Yeah, it's a mouthful. Basically, for someone with POTS, the simple act of standing up causes their heart rate to shoot up and just stay up. As you can imagine, that often leads to things like dizziness, intense fatigue, and heart palpitations. Next is orthostatic hypotension, or OH, and this one gets confused with POTS all the time. But here's the key difference. In both conditions, your heart rate goes up when you stand, but with OH, your blood pressure drops, and it drops significantly. That drop is the real defining feature. And the third common type is vasovagal syncope. This is basically fainting that's set off by a specific trigger. It could be something like standing still for too long, seeing blood, experiencing pain, or even just having a really strong emotional reaction. It causes a sudden, quick drop in both your heart rate and blood pressure, which leads to fainting. Okay, so now that we've got a handle on these common forms, let's get back to that original question. How do these conditions actually affect a person's life expectancy? And the information here is very direct. For the vast majority of people with the common forms of dysautonomia, the condition itself is not considered life-threatening. The main battle isn't against a shortened lifespan, but against symptoms that can really impact your daily living. So this really shifts the whole focus of concern. The primary danger isn't the condition itself, but the risk of getting hurt because of the symptoms. Fainting at the wrong time could lead to a serious fall or an accident, which is why managing the symptoms is so incredibly important. Now, to get the full picture, we do need to talk about the exceptions. While most forms of dysautonomia are not fatal, there are some rare types that are progressive and more severe. Two examples of these are familial dysautonomia and multiple system atrophy, or MSA. Now, unlike POTS or vasovagal syncope, these conditions involve progressive, serious damage to the nervous system, and unfortunately, that can shorten a person's life. But, and this is so crucial to emphasize, these severe, progressive forms are the exception, not the rule. The overwhelming majority of people diagnosed with dysautonomia have the non-fatal types that we just talked about. So, this brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole conversation. What's the outlook for someone living with a common form of dysautonomia? It's one thing to talk about lifespan, but the next question you're probably asking is about quality of life. With all these challenging symptoms, is a full life even possible? And the answer is a clear and very hopeful yes. Despite all the daily difficulties, a full and meaningful life is absolutely the expected outcome for most people with dysautonomia. And achieving that comes down to a proactive three-part approach. It involves working with medical specialists, using medications to help regulate that body autopilot, and, critically, adopting lifestyle strategies around things like diet, hydration, and exercise to manage symptoms day to day. So this is really the key takeaway from our explainer today. While dysautonomia is a very real and often difficult condition, its main impact is on quality of life, not length. The focus for most patients and their doctors is all about management and adaptation to make sure that a life with dysautonomia can still be a very full one.